I think, especially now, the court is very mindful of state laws, and uh, the federalism it's really what allows our country to survive. It's not one size fits all. So it's going to be interesting. This is why I said it. If we get to counting everything under the sun, we're going to be at it for weeks.
Yeah, I hope I like. I think we'll have a good idea of who's like. People say like people have not agreed with me so far that I've talked to several people, but I think we'll have a good idea of at least who's winning, who's doing
Hey,
the best
I hope you're
by
right.
election
I
night.
really do hope you're right. I think this has been an agonizing enough year.
Yeah, you just want it to be over.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
We'll survive, everybody. It. Uh, I'm. I just take what comes. If it's the country's will that we have a, a left leaning Democrat who's going to fight it out with his own party, well, then that'll happen. If we get a right leaning guy who's we've had for 4 years, maybe we haven't imploded yet, right? Everyone until COVID, everyone had a job. The economy was rolling pretty well. Unemployment numbers were good. Economic growth was good. To my knowledge, the Trump administration hadn't abolished any newspapers or uh, you know social media sites. So for all of the screaming about how he's a fascist, it's just like the evidence just isn't there. Um, we'll all survive it. Hey, listen, let's be honest. Joe Biden is not going to survive an entire term.
I
He
think
is he
I
is
think if
not
he,
in the physical shape to do this. This is a brutal job.
if Trump
I
makes
don't
it,
think he has
I
it in
think
him.
if
You're
Trump
going to be
makes it,
looking
I
at
believe in Joe.
President Harris inside a few years.
If Trump makes it,
That's
I
just
believe
my
in Joe.
feeling.
Though I think Joe could. If Trump makes it, if Trump makes it, I think Joe is going to be able to hold on. That's my standard. But in terms of 8 years, I find that
Oh,
highly unlikely
forget
for Joe.
eight. Forget eight.
No way.
Not a chance. I don't think, honestly, Donald Trump loses, he runs again in 2024.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is a great opportunity to segue into the Trump campaign and the Republican Party here. Like I did not get that sense at all. I really don't think he enjoys, or at least anymore, being president.
Oh, I think he does.
What
I
makes you think
think
that?
I think he loves the part. He loves the big picture parts. How else would you start to architect uh, commercial, an economic peace between Middle East enemies? That's a challenge. That's a real philosophical and economic challenge. Those are the things I think he loves. Uh, to I think he also loves uh, being, a guy who respects police and military, and I think he loves that part of the job. Do I think he loves the whole job? No, I don't think anybody loves the whole job.
I don't think I don't think he played a big role in the whole thing with the what was it with the UAE that he had that deal with.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I also don't know if I don't know if they were about to blow up Israel
no,
every
it's a
two
number of
any
people
two
now.
seconds,
You've
but
got it's not just the UAE. He's putting what he's really doing is he's using these small dominoes to pressure the Saudis because that's the big domino, right? They have the most money, they have the most power in the region aside from Iran and Turkey, who's you know that they do a little bit of saber rattling now. Um, I think it's a methodical progression that he's interested in. And I think he put the right people on the job. Jared Kushner he gets pummeled in the media, but I think he just keeps his head down and does whatever he can to forward that. I mean, isn't it nice if we can stop, if we have a bunch of allies in the Middle East as opposed to enemies? It's, that's a big money saver. It's a big geopolitical change. It puts pressure back on Iran. It kind of boxes out it boxes out Russia. I think when it comes to voting for this, these are the things that I care about in voting. Domestic policy, if you keep my taxes low, I'm happy. I certainly do think school choice is having sent my kids to private school because I didn't want to send them to the local public school. I can tell you that it makes a huge difference if a kid is in a place where he can actually learn, where other kids care about learning. These are the things that matter as far as domestic policy for me. The culture wars, that's clickbait. That's why Fox and CNN exist. They exist on culture wars.
Yeah, I think I did want to. I think we could spend another 10, 15, 20 minutes talking about policies in the Middle East, just because that is definitely an area where I do have a lot of disagreement with both Trump and you about. Just I feel like the real fight, and it's not much of a fight. In all honesty, Israel has won the conflict, the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's not like Palestine, West Bank, Gaza, whatever. They're not going to be. They're just absolutely powerless in terms of allies globally and really a lot of figures. But I just think I don't think Iran's rushing in to help them anytime soon. But I don't think yet when it comes to Israel being in that position, I do think it's very interesting. But we could definitely talk about that. But it is election day, and I do want to ask a little bit more about the Republican Party, and that is to me very, very interesting. Because I do believe you see Trump as pulling it out still, or
you mean as an election win? I think it's a toss-up.
Yeah, so I guess if we could entertain, because there's obviously the one future is that Trump goes on and things kind of continue as they are in the Republican Party, but the also probably more likely future at this point is he loses, and then it's kind of everything's up in the air. So who do you see as the next leaders coming out, and what are the ideological battles that are going to shape it?
I think if he loses, he's got enough. If there's a power struggle, I don't know that you'll see those Lincoln Project Republicans welcomed back with open arms into the Republican Party. I mean, you can political parties for ordinary people. Political parties are about policies, right? For people inside the political parties, this is an inside game. How do I make my money? Am I a lobbyist? Am I a pollster? Am I a consultant? Can I hang on to my job? And Donald Trump has shaken. There's a couple of different kinds of swamps in Washington, right? There's you got the military-industrial complex swamp. You've got every agency swamp between IRS and education department and housing and urban development. These people are all just vying to keep jobs. It's not so I don't know who rushes in to fill a vacuum. I think it's still Donald Trump's party, even when he loses.
I think I kind of see it a little bit differently because he, most Republicans when they come in, and most candidates, they fill the town up with their people. But Trump didn't really have any people he didn't really have any of his own infrastructure because he was so different from the party. He didn't really have any of his own people, and a lot of those people were already just traditional Republican people. So like a lot of those. Do you see it? Like I think like a lot of those people are probably just going to end up like reverting to Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, like
That's possible.
type form.
But those guys have all been supporting the policies of Donald Trump, and that's what I mean by it's his party. Maybe he's not.
Well, what do you see as the biggest policy differences between like what directions would a Marco Rubio want to steer the party back into that Trump would not want to would
see? I can't think of any really. I mean, they're both tough on socialists. You know, like the socialism and the full-on left wing of the Democratic Party. They both are. You know, they're all. You could throw Texas. Oh God, why can't I think of his name? Senator from Texas.
Cruz.
Cruz got the. He looks great now. He's with that beard, right? These guys. Look at the beating that Cruz took from Donald Trump and still supports that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I mean maybe they become.
And you've got guys like Josh Hawley, who is a supporter. I think the philosophy. I think Donald Trump helped to reorder and streamline the philosophy inside the modern Republican Party. I personally believe that Donald Trump is anti-abortion? I do not think so. He was in New York for 40 years. He gave to everybody under the sun. I don't think he's an ideologue about things like that. I do believe he's big on creating an environment where jobs stay in the states. I think he's big on lower taxes. I think he's with Reaganomics. That's built into the Republican Party, the Reaganomics theory, where if you lower taxes, you increase economic activity. So I think some of the philosophies will remain. I think he's just a polarizing figure.
Yeah.
So I think Ted Cruz, if you want to know who's really going to make a difference, I think a guy like Ted Cruz has a future. I think a guy like Josh Hawley has a big future. I think Kennedy from Louisiana, he's always got a future. Like, these are guys that are just, they're carrying the water for things they believe in. So they had to be subservient in some sense to a bombastic, loud, crude person whose philosophies tend to align with theirs. So
yeah, I think like in generally like there aren't too many like major party differences, but I guess you could see kind of a more explicit war hawkishness, I think, from the Republican Party in the future.
I think
you wouldn't see.
That will be to their detriment, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I think you're going to see a more vibrant, like appreciation of like probably the intelligence community and stuff like that. And I do think there is some pretty big ideological differences between people like Josh Hawley, who like genuinely I think hates people like Mark Zuckerberg, and like I don't know. I can't really tell if it's for the actual bad stuff that he's doing, or just like that he's like discriminating against conservative content or whatever they say. But but like, and then you got people like Ted Cruz who are just kind of like subservient to any major base of power from a corporation they could possibly find. So I think there could be some potential for a interesting kind of different line there.
Yeah, I think there will be some power struggles. I think Donald Trump, even if he loses, just because of his persona and his media abilities, will never be completely out of it.
He will. You think he'll be a Republican political force?
I do.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah,
I just look at the crowds of people that are showing up at rallies. Now, Donald Trump may lose the election, but you got to have some respect for the commitment that people have to the idea of him, someone who isn't afraid to walk in and sweep all the broken china out of the shop and say, listen,